What's going on, people? Just drinking some mushroom protein mix. So I'm going to keep this video short, but what I want to talk about are two medicinal mushrooms and another supplement, which is a root. So we're going to keep this short, but in 2017 is when I kind of set out on a mission to improve my own life. And I thought the first step would probably be change the way that I'm thinking about certain things. So I kind of went on this mission to try to make myself, as intelligent as I could and just make sure that I'm kind of functioning well. Well, I found a video in 2017 from Paul Stamets, who's the CEO of Host Defense. If you don't know what Host Defense is or who Paul Stamets is, I suggest that you check that out because you'll learn a lot of good stuff. Well, in that video, it was essentially a TED Talk, and he's informing people of the lost medicinal benefits that come from mushrooms, right? And it's not just mushrooms, it's herbs, it's everything. Nutrients, they're everywhere around us and they all have benefits, and we're ignoring them. We're ignoring them so we can mass produce a bunch of BS plants and animals on some crappy land somewhere, right? But what we really need are the things that come from the earth naturally. Same with our medicine, right? Again, I'm not a doctor and I'm not telling you should or shouldn't take anything. You should always talk to your primary care provider before you do or take anything or stop doing or stop taking anything. But in general, it really convinced me, and I found out that there's certain types of mushrooms that have different benefits. And since 2017, my life has dramatically changed for the better, and I credit a lot of the original changes that I made to watching this video and learning about this information. So the first one we'll talk about is lion's mane mushroom. Lion's mane mushroom grows mostly in Asia, but it does grow some areas in the United States, but it's not exactly the same. The real lion's mane mushroom that you want, I believe there are areas it grows in the United States, but not naturally. So for example, Paul Stamets, they have they have different growth forests where their company is, where they grow lion's mane, but I don't think it just naturally grows there. I know for sure it naturally grows in Asia. The way it looks white like icicles hanging off something, which is ironic because if you look at our nerves and our neurons, they look exactly like icicles hanging off things. So these are all the reasons that kind of helped support when I thought, oh, that would be a good idea to try that. Well, lion's mane mushroom has a bunch of benefits. For example, kidney benefits, liver benefits, blood sugar regulation, blood pressure regulation. But where its main benefits come in are nerve and memory support and health. So I never thought about the fact that we can actually repair neurons, but create new neurons in our brain and throughout our body. Well, I found out lion's mane mushroom could do that. So I started taking it, and this was in 2017. In that first week, I noticed major differences in benefits from it. I always felt like maybe my thinking was like right here, right? And the way I would process that thinking was right about here. My first week taking lion's mane mushroom, I was working as a personal trainer, so I was talking to many people throughout the day. The first thing I noticed was my vocabulary, and I still remember this day because I remember I thought to myself that I had used a word in context that I had never used before. I knew what this word was, I just wasn't to the point of actually being able to get it out and throw it into some words, but I was able to do that, and it surprised myself. And I sat there with my client thinking, where'd that come from? And to give you an example, so I said, usually I feel like my mind was working right here and I was processing it right here. What I felt on lion's mane and what I still feel 4 years later, right, is my mind was moving faster, but I was processing things slightly slower. And what that created was kind of a perfect kind of synergistic feel, right? The ability to operate at a higher level while slowing things down. Now, what it kind of reminds me of, this is probably a terrible example, but I'm a big MMA fan, and a lot of MMA fighters these days are trying new methods where they're essentially put in this ball and they're spun extremely fast. And what they're focusing on is slowing down their mind and slowing down their eyes. And now it's not to go any slower, it's actually to be able to maneuver better at that speed, right? So once I felt that, and I was like, wow, not only am I thinking faster, I'm thinking better, but I'm a little slower, I'm not as rushed, and I can pick and choose, right? And you would never think that that little split second of thought as you're processing something could make that big of a difference. But that day, it kind of confirmed to me. I was like, wow, I never would have thought just a little slower could make that big of a difference. So I still take lion's mane mushroom, and it is one of my favorite supplements. So I wanted to share that with you guys. The other one is cordyceps mushroom, another mushroom. Now this mushroom is very interesting, and it's a little different than lion's mane mushroom. So I'll explain what cordyceps mushrooms are. So cordyceps mushroom, some of their benefits are increased respiratory system, anti-parasitic. They can now not directly increase testosterone or benefit hormones, but a large way that these medicinal mushrooms benefit hormones and stuff is they're adaptogens, right? So they adapt to what your body needs. So for example, a lot of men or women, they could have low testosterone because of the fact their cortisol is so high. Well, these things will not directly affect your testosterone, but through being adaptogenic herbs and roots and mushrooms, they are able to identify the things that are kind of holding you back. So what these would actually do is they would actually lower your cortisol. So in return, your testosterone could also be improved. So now other benefits for cordyceps mushrooms are, of course, going to be fertility, libido, strength, power, and endurance. So when ancient Chinese medicine, they still use cordyceps to this day. They use it for multiple different things. And cordyceps mushroom, here's where things get very interesting. Let me tell you kind of how cordyceps mushroom do their thing, essentially, and what they are. They start out as parasites, and where I know they grow the most and the mushrooms are most expensive and most sought out after are in the Himalayan mountain areas. And listen to this. This is pretty crazy. There's caterpillars there at the kind of bottom of the mountain range. Well, these cordyceps mushrooms, originally they're parasites. They start as parasites, and what ends up happening is they end up getting consumed by the caterpillar. When they get consumed by the caterpillar, they slowly take over the caterpillar's body because remember, they're parasites, so they're attacking the system of the caterpillar. Well, eventually they take over the brain of the caterpillar. They take over the thinking of the caterpillar. They tell the caterpillar, or essentially control the caterpillar, to crawl to the very highest point of the Himalayan mountains that it's at, the range that it's in. So it crawls all the way to the top. As it's crawling to the top, it continues to take over the mind of the caterpillar. It slowly starts to grow out of the skull of the caterpillar. So I know it's kind of getting into some zombie stuff at this point. Well, once the caterpillar gets to the very top of the mountain range, it dies. It doesn't just die, but it can either die or it will end up just kind of being blown into the air, and it will be kind of thrown around, right? And so the reason for this is because mushroom are living organisms just like humans, and they have intelligence, which is a really crazy concept. Well, the reason for this is to increase the chance of the cordyceps mushroom survival, right? Just like survival of the fittest. That's the main point. This mushroom is ensuring that its race of mushrooms, it's whatever you want to call it, that it continues going and living. And that to me was very interesting, the whole concept of intelligence when it comes to plants and mushrooms and things like this. So definitely look up lion's mane mushroom, definitely look up cordyceps mushroom. Now my bonus supplement or food today is going to be maca root. Maca root is not a mushroom. It kind of got famous, I suppose, for being, it grows in Peru amongst many other places, but primarily high altitude places. The Inca warriors who lived in Peru would take it before battle because it would give them so much energy and vitality. Again, very similar to cordyceps in a sense that it increases vitality, right? Which is kind of your wellness, your well-being. And it does that again because it is an adaptogenic herb or root. So it kind of takes what your body needs and it does whatever it can to give your body what it needs. So again, libido, hormone balancing, these are all benefits of maca root. I'm a strong believer that we haven't really figured out all the ins and outs for us in our hormones, and I think that there are much more things to plants, the plant kingdom, the mushroom kingdom. All of these things, they're made for us, and it's really important that we understand that. They're not just here. They're made for us, and they're made for us to consume these things. Now, I will give you a warning on the maca root. So both the maca root and the cordyceps, when it comes to the libido aspect, it does work. It does work pretty well. To the point where the commander, another interesting story, the commander for the Inca warriors who would feed them maca root, it would get these men so kind of wound up, I suppose, so energetic and so filled with vitality that he would have to order them to stop taking it when they returned from battle. So they would stop taking it when they returned from battle, and then when they went to battle, they would start taking this maca root again. And all three of these things, I would say, are most likely at your local vitamin store, vitamin shop, any kind of natural wellness area. So go look for these, but first, most importantly, make sure you do your own research. Make sure you talk to your doctor about taking any new type of supplement or food, even if it naturally grows somewhere. Because at the end of the day, it's important to remember that herbs, roots, anything really interacts with something else. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not recommending that you take these supplements, but I'm recommending that you look into them, you check with your doctor, and you see if they may help you. If you have any questions or want to recommend me to do my next video on something new or something that you thought of, just let me know. And I appreciate everyone for checking these videos out, and I hope you learned something. Thank you.